Good afternoon, everyone, or good morning, good evening, whatever it is, wherever you happen to be. Welcome to Voices from the Ice, live from Antarctica. In fact, live from Port Lockroy today. Lisa Ford and Peter Watson are joining us from Port Lockroy. Look at the beautiful weather you two have. Welcome. We're so glad you're here. Just for one moment, I'm going to share a little bit about the American Polar Society. My name is Susan Ady, president of the American Polar Society. For 90 years, this organization has been working to bring people who are passionate about polar places, bringing them together, to share, to learn, to encourage exploring, to encourage science, and to support anybody who is passionate about the polar regions. So today we are welcoming the UK Antarctic Heritage Trust, who is working in Antarctica in various places to support the heritage, the human heritage of Antarctica. And we at APS really appreciate that. So welcome to everybody. Let's see, I remember many years ago, it was the early 1990s, my first view of Port Lockroy. I was standing on Jugala and enjoying the whale bones and the story that goes with the bay, including the story about today, Port Lockroy. But I remember looking over at, and we did stop for a very short landing at the base and going, oh my gosh, it looks so sad. It looks so uncared for. And then we see, looking out behind you right now, over to the Bransfield House, we see an amazing structure that has survived. And I especially like how you say it is what started as a secret mission has become a museum. It's a really cool place. Anyway, Lisa, this year you're the base manager, and Peter, my understanding is that you're primarily responsible for taking care of those penguins, the Gen 2 penguins on base. So anyway, everybody wears multiple hats, but I'd like to welcome you both. And yeah, how are you today?
We're really good, thank you. Yes, we've got a lovely day here today. We're really lucky to be able to sort of show you blue sky and just a little breeze. And yeah, it's great. And everyone's busy working today. We haven't got any ships in, so we're doing a lot of conservation work today. So lots of scraping of paint, painting, and you might just be able to see the guys in the back. They're putting some felt on the front of the building as well, where we've just fitted some new windows. So yes, it's been a very busy day, but it's great to talk with you.
Primarily what I see behind you, besides beautiful scenery, is penguins moving around. So I assume the Gen 2s are helping as much as they can also. But I think it might be nice for those people who are not familiar with what is Port Lockroy, if one of you could share a little bit about the history of that location of Port Lockroy.
Sure, yeah. So as you kind of mentioned, Port Lockroy or Goodyear Island was the base of the first permanent British science base in Antarctica. It was founded in 1944 and then used for a secret wartime mission because they're concerned about German activity in the area. But it quickly converted to Britain's premier polar research station in Antarctica, and it was used as a science base until 1962. Until the UK had better science bases further south, so it was abandoned. And it wasn't until 1996 that, after our charity was formed and we took over the running of it, it was renovated and taken back to its former glory. So when you saw it in the early 90s, it was looking pretty sorry for itself. But these days it operates as a museum where people can come and visit it, as well as it's the world's southernmost post office. So you can send a postcard here. Visit our small gift shop, and as you mentioned as well, there are a thriving colony of penguins, Gen 2 penguins, living on the island. About 450, 500 nesting pairs, and they're pretty noisy today. So you might see us lean into the phone, lean into the screen a little bit. That's because we're struggling to hear you over the din of their brays.
Okay, thank you, Peter. All right, I was curious about that because I hear the noise coming and going. And I did mention earlier that we can see the penguins and see the scenery, but we can't smell the penguins. So you are living with that smell, though. That's you used a word for it that I thought was quite interesting. Lisa,
I think you become nose blind to it.
nose blind.
Yeah, it's a kind of yeah. I think when we go off the island and we come back to it, and it's been really sunny, then it sort of evaporates into this sort of eau de penguin that we're very familiar with, and I think quite a lot of our clothes sort of get that sort of essence of that smell as well. But yeah, the ships when we go on board, they sort of sometimes look at us like we're not dirty, but we just have that sort of essence of penguin, which is special, I think.
The essence of ode to penguin, I guess.
So I we get showers occasionally on or every now and again on ships, and you get on board and you get all cleaned up, you put fresh clothes on, and I think, oh yeah, this is great. And then I open my bag to take my cap out or my walkie-talkie or something like this, something that hasn't had a wash, and you just get the whiff come out, and you're like, it won't last long,
Okay, so you're bringing up some very interesting points there, that yes, you get a shower occasionally and you get out onto the ships occasionally. So you are living basically on a rock in the middle of Antarctica. And there's no electricity, no plumbing, there's no pier or dock or taxi to take you to the restaurants. So tell us a little bit about your day and how you live out there.
So yes, it is a very small rock. It's about the size of a football pitch. We don't have a boat to get off it, so we are very reliant on the ships that come by and the yachts to give us a lift somewhere, or if we go on board to talk to guests about what the charity does. So day to day, well, you said no electricity. We do have electricity, but we have that generated through solar. So that's excellent, and it works extremely well. We also have some gas for cooking, and very occasionally we might need our heater when it gets sort of really blowy here and the building loses some of its heat. But other than that, it's actually quite comfortable to live here. Basic but comfortable. But the main thing that we don't have is running water. So we don't have any running water, so we are reliant on the ships to give us drinking water, and obviously showers, as Pete mentioned. So we're very frugal in the amount of water that we use for like washing plates and that kind of thing, because we know that we are going to have to carry these jerry cans full of drinking water all the way back up the hill at the end of the day. So we get to be quite frugal with water. But day to day, otherwise, I suppose we're kind of meeting and greeting guests who come onto shore to see the museum, and that's not every day, but it's quite frequent during the high season, and obviously we're trying to raise money for the charity through our small gift shop. But more importantly is just tell the sort of history of the place to the visitors, so that they can see this sort of small time capsule of past that is here, and we're so lucky to be part of this season. Yeah,
it's quite amazing, having had the opportunity myself to visit many of the historical huts in the Ross Sea as well as the peninsula, that the Antarctic Treaty had decided at one time, the member nations had decided, if you don't demolish or destroy, I'm not sure of the right wording here, but if you don't destroy a base that you used, that you have to remove it. And so I know, for instance, there's a hut that we used to love to visit called on Danko Island that's now gone. And as opposed to that, there's the huts down in Marguerite Bay that the UKAHT is caring for. And then this hut at Bransfield House. And then, of course, I think some of the remains like at Deception Island. So I think it's really wonderful that the UK has taken upon themselves to maintain these bases, to keep alive that human history of, which is really new, right? It's really new history for the whole planet to be studying in Antarctica. So I'm really proud of the work that they have done. And like you said, it's ongoing. They're doing it right now today behind us, or behind you. So please extend our thank you to all the members of the UKAHT for doing that. So you're not there in the winter though, right?
No, that's right. We're just a summer base. So it was the UK's first permanent all wintering base. So it's the first time that we had scientists down here working throughout the winter. But yeah, these days it would be pretty tough existence to be here during winter, and it'd be all iced over, largely iced over anyway. So yeah, our team arrives in November, early November usually, and then we have a team on site until mid-March before we head home. So it's about a 4.5-month stint that the team members do, and then they're usually joined by carpenters, conservation and heritage carpenters in January, because it's not until about January usually that, particularly when it comes to external work, that the penguins start to move away from the buildings, so that actually some serious conservation work can happen on the site. And at the moment we have begun now, but this was our first season of a planned 3 seasons of major conservation work at Port Lockroy. So usually our field team would split their time between Port Lockroy and maybe one of our other bases. But for the next 3 seasons, we're really focusing on Port Lockroy because some various surveys and things like that have identified some quite intensive work that needs to be done over the next few years. So it's better to get that done as basically as soon as possible.
Excellent. That's great. I don't know if you're aware, but I'm on the board for the conservation work. Just to have a representative from the tourism side of the world to speak to things like windows. How do you cover a window, and can we access a hut that is not staffed like Port Lockroy is? Can we, the visitors to Antarctica, can we come and show that site? And if we can, how do we do it, and how's the best way to do it? So I've been really privileged to be able to give some input there to especially the bases down in Marguerite Bay, to be able to visit those. So it's great again to watch that heritage being protected so well. So we really appreciate that. I've also worked with the New Zealand Heritage Trust on some of those huts and the maintenance that they have to do. One of my concerns always was boots. You know, we wear these big clunky boots to keep our feet warm and dry and protected. And then to go into one of your huts with these boots on just always made me nervous. You know, tripods with pointy ends on them. And then just breathing. You know, we come in with all our moisture and we're bringing that into your huts. Is that, how do you mitigate, or how do you find solutions for some of those concerns?
Well, not really that. So going into the museum here, we get all our guests need to wash their boots when they come in, and they have to scrub them as well. And then we also have some towels that the expedition teams bring so that we can dry them before we actually go into the museum. And also that the water that we use is not salt water. We need fresh water from the visiting ships and yachts to do that, so we don't have salt deposits within the building. So that's sort of pretty important to us, and it helps to keep the museum as wonderful as it is. Yeah.
It sounds very complicated and really very wonderful that you're doing that, though. That's great. Well, speaking of guests and visitation, because I know it's so important to you, but there are so many visitors in Antarctica these days. How many visits do you have, or is that a number? I don't know. How do you? Yeah.
There's actually been a reduction in the number of people who've actually visited the island. So last year there were about 7,000, 8,000 people who visited, and that's less than in previous years. So we've had to obviously be mindful of penguins, mindful of concerns around avian influenza. And so the numbers that can come on the island at any one time have reduced. So we do a lot more sort of going on the ships, so that we go and tell the stories of the different bases that the charity looks after to the guests on, and then some of them will come on island, but others will also just go on their Zodiac cruises around the island and see it from the shore. So there's actually been less in past, most recently, but in past years there have been quite a few more visitors. But things have had to change to accommodate sort of pressures on the island, but also concerns around avian influenza. So you know, we adapt as anyone does who works down here, and so likewise the guests have as well, and the expedition teams on the cruises, so that we tend to do a bit more on the ships instead. Yeah.
I see. Okay. Well, and I think that's great. I mean, we have to take all sorts of steps to protect any kind of heritage, human heritage or wildlife, you know, to protect an area. So it's just what we have to do. So good.
Yeah.
Good to know what you're doing. And that's, of course, the guidelines that the ships are following. There's a whole list of guidelines, and Port Lockroy is one place that has, you know, strict guidelines. And I know that, yeah, that's very important for everyone to follow those. So about the penguins, though, let's talk about penguins. Do you have a research project going on with those penguins, or what's going on with the penguins?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So the UK Antarctic Heritage Trust, we work closely with the British Antarctic Survey back home in the UK, which is the UK's like premier polar research institution, really. And so there's been, on the behalf of them, really, there's been a research, a study program on the island, which has been running for nearly 30 years. And it's the longest study of its kind. And it's one of the few places in Antarctica where we humans actually get to live alongside a colony of gentoo penguins, you know, particularly in such a small space. So it's a great opportunity for us to be able to see, and we're here for the entire breeding cycle as well, which is highly unusual, to be able to see it right from the time the penguins arrive, set up their nests, lay their eggs, hatchlings, and then through to fledglings at the end of the season. So it's actually a great opportunity for British Antarctic Survey to get all the data back from us. So my role as a wildlife monitor is to keep an eye on, and I'm looking over there because that's my screen colony up there. It's my chronology colony. So I keep an eye on that on a regular day, almost a daily basis, really. And then at certain points throughout the season, that depending how that colony is getting on, it will trigger whole island counts. And so that means the whole team go out and produce, complete a whole island count of the number of nests, the number of chicks, the number of hatchlings, or the number of fledglings we've got. And then all that data gets sent back to the British Antarctic Survey, and that we have a scientist there who works very closely with us. And then also that all feeds into a much wider study along the peninsula, but also of Antarctica. And it's particularly helpful because we've got a changing climate at the moment. And so with the peninsula being one of the fastest warming places on the planet, it's really useful data for them to be able to see how this colony is coping with that and getting on with it.
Interesting point. Fastest warming place on the planet. I mean, all the other penguins. One of.
Yeah, one of, yeah.
I was going to say all the penguin information, and of course I jumped on the climate stuff.
Yeah. No, it's all right. A lot to take
okay. But what is the temperature? We're standing here looking at you with no wind, beautiful sunshine. What's the temperature there today?
Yeah, about 1
degree.
1
degree. We're above 0 today.
Yeah.
Beautiful,
But,
beautiful.
Yeah.
So,
So 2 days ago, I think it was down to -10 with a wind chill, wasn't it, when we had a gale come in, you know? So
and you're talking Celsius, not Fahrenheit, just for our American listeners. But, back to the penguins. Sorry, I didn't mean to just jump over them. You said there was 450, is it pairs or nests, or I got something wrong there?
Exactly. So there's about 450 nesting pairs. So that's about between 900 and 1,000 penguins. Not all of them are nesting. Some of the younger ones, for example, in their first year or two, aren't necessarily nesting. So it's between 900 and 1,000 adult penguins. But if I'm honest, the study is more focused on the breeding cycle. So we don't really count the adult penguins other than the nests, because that's indicative in itself. And so after that, we focus on the number of chicks, the eggs and chicks, really. And so I can tell you at the last count, there was just a touch over 700 chicks on the island. So that we've got about 1,600 penguins, so it's a busy place to be at the moment. And that all leads in, that all folds into the noise around us and the smell around us, and how fast and how quickly we can get on with our work as well.
Of course, yeah. Okay, so you now have a little bit of darkness, right? So you have some polar night is starting. So do the penguins go to sleep at night?
Well, not really, but so when it was 24-hour daylight, they would get slightly calmer during the night, and I think that's mainly due to the less predatory birds around. So there was less sort of movement around, but they were still continuing with their daily lives, and you could wake up and hear them making quite a racket. Now that it's getting dark for sort of 2 or 3 hours a night, it does get noticeably calmer in the evening and the morning, I think. Did you say? Yeah.
Agree. The one thing that does keep us awake at night are the sheathbills. So the sheathbills are a small little white pigeon-like bird that, as I'm sure you well know, and our building that we live in has a nice corrugated roof, and they love to run across it in the night backwards and forwards. So there's this clitter clatter all night. So yeah, they're very cheeky, and they're the ones that are probably more noisy. I think we just get used to braying penguins, but the clitter clatter of tiny feet on and not on the corrugated iron is a bit annoying sometimes.
I can imagine it is. One of my most fond memories of penguins and braying is being out on a Zodiac cruise in the dead of night. This is years ago. And in the distance, we could hear a single gentoo penguin braying. And it was just totally dark around us. And it was just magical. You know, it was silence except for that. Well, I was going to say, whoops, there was also blowing whales. We could hear the whales blowing, but couldn't see them. It was really, yeah, the silence and then the noise. It was, yeah, pretty magical. Anyway, wow. Okay. So there's just so much to ask. We have a question that has come in, and I love this question because I wanted to ask it. So, but it came in anonymously, so I'm going to just go for it. When you arrive after the winter, is there snow behind you?
Is there what? Sorry?
No.
Is there snow?
No.
Yeah, snow.
Oh, a sheathbill just flew in. Two sheathbills. If you don't know what a sheathbill is, the white bird flying around. Yeah, it's right under was under the flagpole. Sorry, got sidetracked.
There's actually quite a lot of snow at the moment. Obviously, the island is free of snow. It all melts throughout the sort of summer. But yes, there's considerable snow. So where we're standing at the moment, there would be snow probably 2 or 3 foot above us, 4 foot above us, something like that, and a big snowy ball against our main living space. Some years there has been snow that has been up to the roof of Bransfield House behind us. So it really sort of melts quite fast in the summer. So initially when we come, yes, there's lots of deep snow to sort of navigate, sledges to move things around as well. And then eventually with the melting of that snow, we then have to sort of obviously put the sledges away and then just carry things as you would normally. So yes, there's quite a lot of snow, but this season there was less. There was less snow this season than in previous seasons, but still a lot, and it was still beautiful, of course, when we arrived, but still slightly tainted by penguins that were starting to make it a little pink, shall we say.
Well, that's great. Okay, we've kept you a long time, and I know you have a lot of restoration work to do, so we really appreciate it. I just wanted to give a shout out to the people who have come to join us. And I see we have a question. Let's see if we can find that question. A hand that went up. Seth, can you read that question?
Average number of eggs laid per pair.
Okay. Oh, you can read it. Good.
Absolutely. Yeah. So what was the average number of eggs laid per pair? So, I mean, there's not really an average because gentoos usually lay 2 eggs. In fact, you know, it's a question of how successful those eggs will be. So my early count was, so there were 556 nests and there were 800 now on the top of my head, 800 and something eggs. Okay, so at that snapshot in time, most nests had 2 eggs, you know. But of course, that's again, it can be quite misleading because you can take a snapshot count and then these eggs can get predated on by the sheathbills we see before. They won't predate a chick, but they will go after an egg, and they do steal eggs. They can get attacked by other birds as well, and they can also get broken naturally in various ways, you know, because we've got penguins moving on and off them, nests made of pebbles, so they're not the most you know, natural things to raise a leg on, you know, and basically stones. So it's, you know, it's very rare for a penguin to lay 3 eggs. Most of the time they lay 2. And so really, I think I could tell you it was 63% of the whole island at my last egg count. 63% of all of the nests had 2 eggs in them at that snapshot in time, you know. So it might have crept up a little bit higher, and it would have almost certainly at some point dropped as more animals got predated. But occasionally, and we witnessed this, didn't we? Just a couple of weeks ago, it was quite sad, really. We think a pair of gentoos who had an unsuccessful first mating time of the year laid another egg and had another hatchling late in the season, really late in the season, just about 2 weeks ago. And unfortunately, it didn't make it. No.
Well,
It was
yeah,
just too
won't
late.
survive. Yeah. Well, that's very good information. I'm sorry, Lisa?
It's lovely for people to see, because some people who perhaps are visiting Antarctica at this time of the season will see, you know, chicks that are actually quite big and fluffy, and actually to see a little one at that time was really nice for them. But we sort of knew what was on the cards for it. But it was lovely for some people to see that earlier part of the season through the one net.
Very often people ask us, when's the best time to visit? And so you have to go through from, you know, this is November, this is December, this is January, because it's different every time. And people really need to think that through and make a choice what they would rather, what they would hope to see. And because it just changes day to day, week to week, right? It's like any place else, like your backyard, it's always different depending on the season.
And that's one of the beautiful things about being here for an entire season, or for me for being able to witness the entire breeding cycle, is that you get to see all these different snapshots unfold one after the other. And so at the moment, even this morning we've been watching chicks swimming for the first time, you know, taking their first tentative steps into the water. And so I mean, for me, that actually was the most joyful moment of the entire season. I've been to Antarctica before, and again, I just saw a moment in time of chicks at a certain stage. So to actually see them learning how to swim is really quite joyful. You know?
They're so fluffy, they can't get down, right? So it's
They don't know how to swim. They're just sort of flapping around in the water, making a hell of a noise and a hell of a mess. But they've got just less than a month to work it all out. So
that's
they
right.
get on with it.
And to catch their own food, right? So it's pretty serious time. Yeah. Well, I think that for folks who would like to learn more about Port Lockroy specifically, we can post a connection to the webpage where you address some of these things, like, you know, life on Port Lockroy and management and how the charity runs, you know, what your aims are, what your goals are. So anyone who's interested, please do check back with us and we will post that information for you. If you have been listening, we would like you to please hit like and make a comment so we know you were with us, and we can share that with the team on Port Lockroy so they know how many people were listening and where you're all from. So I really appreciate you taking the time, and I know that you're really busy, especially the season is coming to an end, and you need to be able to have a sound building there to protect the contents. Maybe next time we could see inside the building and see how I'm setting this up for you to do more work. But we could see the inside of the building and see some of the museum there. But I bet people would also be extremely interested to see your living accommodations. Not that we want to, you know, disrupt anyone who's getting a nap, but where on earth do you sleep? So
What's a nap?
or a nap. That doesn't happen, right? Okay. Well, there's so much more to talk about, so I think we just have to come back. I hope that will work out sometime with your schedule somewhere. When are you leaving Port Lockroy?
Leaving on the 11th of March.
We're
on one of the cruise ships, and we head back to Ushuaia and then back to the UK. So yeah, the 11th of March. So we've got lots of stuff to do before then, and winterize the base and do all that. So yeah, we're going to be busy bees for sure.
Oh, I understand. So maybe I could ask you to come on in later in the season, later, maybe spring or in early summer with a slideshow, and you could show us the inside of the sleeping house, the Nansen hut.
I'm sure we could do all sorts.
Yeah.
So absolutely.
Okay, great, good. Well, we're going to work on that then. So we
Yeah.
can bring more of your story to share. Excellent. Okay. Well, thank you very, very much. I'd like to give a shout out to Seth Pilgrim, who is our social media manager, who is behind the scenes taking care of us and making sure this happens properly. But thank you very much, Lisa and Peter, for joining us today, all the way from Antarctica, to join us for Voices from the Ice Live. We appreciate it. Take good care. Thank you very much. Goodbye,
Bye-bye,
everyone.
Bye bye now.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.